You know that feeling, right? When you pick up a stone and there's just something there, a little warmth, a buzz, maybe a sense of quiet presence that your brain can't quite pin down. Well, if you've ever felt that, then you're in exactly the right place because that exact feeling, that's our starting point today. So, what we're diving into today are the big ideas from Keith Birch's book, The Silent Language of Crystals. And let me tell you, this is not your average how-to guide. Not at all. It's more like an invitation, really. An invitation to totally shift how we think about our relationship with the mineral world, to start listening for a language that isn't spoken in words, but in, well, in energy. Right off the bat, this book just throws down the gauntlet, you know? It challenges our everyday perception by asking this one, simple but really profound question. When you look at a rock, are you really seeing everything there is to see? And that's the absolute core of it, isn't it? That's the question Keith Birch really wants us to wrestle with. He's suggesting that maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't the crystals. Maybe the problem is us, our own super narrow definitions. What if life is happening all around us, in forms and on timescales that are just so vast, our human senses can't even begin to pick them up?
Okay, so check this out. It's a fascinating comparison. On one hand, you've got this standard biology textbook definition of life, right? All that stuff about movement, growth, reproduction. But then Keith Birch comes along and says, hold on a second. He points out that crystals, well, they kind of tick some of those boxes too. They just do it on this epic geological timescale. They grow over thousands, even millions of years. They respond to energy. And get this, they hold the memory of ancient Earth processes right inside their very structure. How cool is that?
And you know, this whole idea of connecting with crystals, it's not some new fad, not by a long shot. This is ancient. We're talking burial sites from 30,000 years ago. Think about that. We see it in ancient Egypt, where lapis lazuli was linked with the gods themselves. And in so many First Nations traditions, where stones are honored as the grandfathers, literally the oldest beings on this planet. So the book suggests that what's happening now, it's not a trend. It's more like we're all collectively remembering something we've known for a very, very long time.
Okay, so if we accept the idea that crystals have a presence, how in the world do they talk to us? Well, the book proposes this central idea, this core mechanism. It's all about the language of energy. The book calls it subtle energy. You might have heard other names for it, like chi or prana. Basically, it's this idea of an unseen life force that flows through, well, everything. The trees, the oceans, you, me, and yep, the stones. It's like this constant silent conversation happening all around us, just on a frequency we're not usually tuned into. And this isn't totally out there, right? Even from a scientific view, we know everything vibrates. Everything has a frequency. The book really hones in on how a crystal's internal structure, that perfect, ordered latticework, creates this super stable, super consistent pulse. I mean, that is literally why we use quartz in watches and computers, to keep perfect time. So the book's argument is, what if that same steady, reliable pulse is something we can learn to connect with on a more, well, spiritual level? Okay, but that's the theory. How does this vibration stuff actually become something you can feel? How does it go from being a cool concept to something you can actually notice in your own life? Let's get into it. The author, Keith, shares this really powerful personal story. And it's powerful because it's so simple. He talks about holding this quartz crystal he'd owned for years. And then one day, out of nowhere, he feels this pulsing warmth and this absolutely unmistakable sense of being watched, of being in the presence of another consciousness. And that shift from seeing a thing, an object, to feeling a being, that's what this book is all about. So what does this conversation feel like? Well, the book says it can show up in all kinds of ways. You might feel a tingling or warmth in your hands, or maybe a sudden wave of calm just washes over you. It could be a change in temperature, or even random images or memories that just pop into your head. It's all part of this quiet, wordless dialogue. There's this one part where the book paints this incredible picture of an encounter with labradorite, and it just pulls you right in. It describes that feeling, you know the one, where you pick something up and for just a second, the whole world seems to go quiet. And there's no voice, there are no words, but a message comes through clear as day. A kind of nudge to remember a deeper part of who you are. But wait, it gets even deeper. The relationship isn't just about a quiet conversation. The book suggests that some crystals can actually take on a much more active role, like becoming guardians or even keepers of ancient memory. Yeah, so certain stones, think smoky quartz, black tourmaline, labradorite, are described as having this powerful guardian energy. They're not just sitting there looking pretty. The idea is that they're active protectors. They can help shield your energy, create a safe space around you, and offer this really firm, steadying kind of guidance when you need it. And this leads to one of my favorite ideas in the whole book: crystals as the Earth's hard drive. I mean, think about it. They're formed over millions of years under insane heat and pressure. They're ancient witnesses. The book suggests they don't just hold the memory of geological stuff, but the echoes of human history, of all the emotion that's happened around them for, well, forever. So after all this incredible theory and these amazing stories, the book does something really smart. It brings everything right back home, to you. It ends with a really simple, direct invitation for you to try this out and see what happens for yourself. And the exercise it suggests is just beautiful in its simplicity. This isn't about, programming your crystal or asking it for a million things. Nope, it's just about being present. Just hold a stone, and shift your mindset. Just for a second, imagine that it's aware of you. And then just notice. That's it. Notice what you feel. Notice any changes in the room, in your hand, in your head. And this all leads to the final brilliant thought the book leaves us with. It kind of flips the whole thing right on its head. It suggests that maybe the world around us is alive and communicating all the time. And if that's true, then the real question isn't, are crystals alive? The real question is, are we awake enough to notice?